Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to today's workforce webinar. My name is Alec, and as usual, I'm going to be here today to help answer any of your general or technical questions that may pop up. But before we get started, I'm going to cover a couple of things that you need to know about the session today. There's no dial-in number for attendees. All audio will be streamed to you through your computer speakers or headphones, so please make sure your volume is adjusted there accordingly. You can submit questions for today's speakers or any technical issues you may encounter by clicking on the Q&A icon located on the right-hand side of your screen, labeled here on this slide with the top arrow. Click there, type in your question, and click Submit. If it's content related, we may pull it during a Q&A session if time allows, and if it's a technical question, I'll have an answer for you that will appear on your screen shortly after you submit. You can download a PDF to follow along by clicking on the Handouts icon located on the right-hand side of your screen, labeled here on this slide with the bottom arrow. You can click there to follow along with a PDF of your own. Today's webinar is being recorded. You're going to receive a link to that recording in a follow-up email. Please allow at least a business day before that information is sent. Along with that recording, you're going to have your HRCI and SHRM certification codes for today's event. All right, so we have a wonderful presentation lined up for you all today, and we have quite a few speakers on. The title of today's webinar is Working Together to Win at BASF, Developing and Aligning Business and Talent Strategies. So with that being said, I'm going to pass things over to Bernadette Palumbo to introduce herself and get things started.
Thank you very much, Alec. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bernadette Palumbo. I'm the Vice President, HR Operations at BASF Corporation, based in Florham Park, New Jersey, and this is where I'm coming to you from today. I'm joined today actually by some colleagues here in Florham Park, but also by colleagues who are scattered around the country at the moment. We have Dion Carter, Senior Vice President for our Performance Chemicals business, Herminio Hernandez, Strategic HR Business Advisor, Heidi Gerhard, Director of Talent Acquisition and University Relations, and Megan Mabey, People Consultant. First, I'd like to make mention for those of you who are dialing in from the Southeast, we're thinking about you. We hope you're in a safe place and you're wishing you well regarding the impending weather. I'd like to say that on behalf of my colleagues, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you today about how BASF, a 150-year-old chemical company, creates chemistry by aligning business and talent strategies. But please, I'd like to ask you to indulge me for just a few minutes first so that I can share some context with you, which we think is important for you to know. In November of 2017, BASF HR undertook the most significant transformation of the function to date in this region. Our business demand for HR solutions and services really required a fundamental shift in how we deliver these solutions and services. We focused on three things: quality, efficiency, and consistency. And we transformed to a highly flexible model, which allows us to devote resources to where the need is greatest. Some examples: we centralized the delivery of enterprise-wide HR services, things like talent reviews and performance calibrations. We also expanded our HR service center to include a manager resource team, which serves as the first point of contact for everything a people manager requires in order to lead others. Additionally, and something that we'll be talking about today, we reshaped our centers of excellence in HR. For example, talent acquisition, which will also be a focus of today, to focus on external trend spotting and the development of future programs aligned with business demand and with external human capital trends. Of course, we couldn't do this without leveraging technology, which allows us to strengthen the ability to use data and analytics to more easily develop and share insights regarding our human capital. We reimagined the role of the HR business partner. It's no longer an execution role here at BASF, but a strategic one which focuses on talent, leadership, organization, and culture. We renamed the role to be called Strategic HR Business Advisor. We also have a similar role for manufacturing. These are the Strategic HR Manufacturing Advisors. The Strategic HR Business Advisor is a member of the business unit leadership team they're advising, and they're responsible for creating human capital plans in partnership with the business unit leader, thus tying business strategy to people strategy. They also coordinate the delivery of unit demand for HR solutions and services. We did also reimagine how HR supports manufacturing. As I mentioned, we created the role of Strategic HR Manufacturing Advisor, who advise manufacturing leaders within their unit or units they're supporting on specific people strategies to drive greater employee engagement and results at the sites they lead. Finally, we created an internal HR consulting group, which we call People Consulting. The People Consulting team manages unit or site-specific HR projects, which ensures greater cost transparency and allocates costs directly to the unit benefiting from the service. Essentially, it creates an avenue for our organization to get what it needs easily and just in time. Some examples of the work that the People Consulting does is org design, mergers and acquisitions, site closures, among many others. But as I mentioned, today we're going to focus on our Talent Acquisition Center of Excellence and our People Consulting team. Of course, an organizational model is only as good as the people who make it work. So I'd like to invite Dion Carter, Senior Vice President of Performance Chemicals, to share his perspective on how the HR function enabled a significant change in business results through mobilizing differently and deeper to address business challenges. I have to say, on behalf of all of my colleagues, we enjoy working so much with Dion because he's always energized to drive change within his business, and that leads to great results. Dion, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Bernadette, and hello to everybody on the call here. So maybe by way of background, talk about our Plastic Additives business unit, and this is a business that markets compounds into the polymers industry. These materials add durability, they add processability, weatherability, so they add performance to polymers that touch your everyday life in automotive, in homes, houses, consumer goods, so on and so forth. This is a business that came to BASF through an acquisition in 2009. And it was a business that was certainly facing a number of challenges. The market was in transition. It had come from a historical place of very strong patent protection on its product portfolio. Those patents were expiring, a number of generic products coming into the market, so a significant increase in the competitive landscape. And that obviously caused the business to have to adapt and face its market realities, which it did under BASF leadership at the time. And earlier on in the time frame, obviously there was a significant focus on cost and restructuring the business, and also just looking at ways that we could utilize capacities and grow volumes. And that did enable a successful transition of the business, enabled it to return to a profitable growth path. But like all strategies, they work only so well and for so long. And then market realities change, circumstances change, and you have to adapt. So later on here, as we've looked at this business, we've evaluated changes in our raw material cost position, changes that are impacting our the available and the utilization of our assets and the capacities that we have, and opportunities for further cost reduction being quite limited. So with that, if you move to the next slide, please. Obviously the business, we in business are always focused on how we can grow our businesses, and certainly having a look at these realities and changes in this business, we set about creating a new pathway for growth for the business. If you advance to the next slide, then, the focus that I would summarize in terms of our way forward for now, the business is to really focus in excellence in three critical areas. We want to focus in excellence in our manufacturing, both in terms of our production and our supply platform. We want to focus on our customers and truly understanding how we can connect and how we can create value based on their needs. And obviously, we want to focus on really, really optimizing our value management, make sure that we're really maximizing the value that we can get from our customers in terms of the products and services that we provide. Strategies are always want to build on our strengths, and certainly we as a business have tremendous strength. We recognize it in our portfolios, in our technical know-how, in our regulatory know-how, what we call product stewardship, the ability to make sure that we meet all of the regulatory requirements out there for food contact, particular requirements for plastics that are used in food or medical applications, and then leveraging our manufacturing footprint. So we set ourselves some ambitious goals as a business. We had 4 fundamental pillars that you see here. We really want to ensure our world-class production and supply platform, delivering the best customer experience, further enhancing our product portfolio, and excellence in value management. So that's the really core of the strategy for that business, which we are now executing. And a big part of that is obviously around having the right people with the right skill sets and the right culture, energy, engagement, enthusiasm, the things we look for in all our talent. And with that, I did partner with a very good colleague of mine, Herminio Hernandez. He is my HR business partner. And we set about putting together a human capital plan, which Herminio will further discuss here.
Thank you, Dion. I appreciate that. In alignment with that is that to go over some of the big parts of the human capital plan for the Plastic Additives business. Underneath the world-class production and supply platform, we had 2 key roles in senior leadership positions from a talent acquisition that we're going to engage in. And one of them definitely aligns with the production and the business management aspect of it. And that's a critical part, as well as on the supply platform aspect as well, on the supply chain aspect of improving that, which ties directly into the customer experience. So one key thing was we had to find 2 key roles, 2 senior directors and 2 senior leaders there, but also under the area of delivery, better customer experience, the need for reorganizing the supply chain and into that. And those are going to be 2 critical. So those 2 are going to be on the next slide in just a second. But to touch on the other elements of the human capital plan supporting the ambitious goals is the product portfolio and differentiation. So we did a realignment of our sales engagement, of our sales force, being more customer focused, more targeted toward where they are as a key account or whether they are regionalized. We made some changes in the organization there. And also in the value management, we introduced a couple of new programs to re-energize our sales force, to put us more focus on the value of actually what it is, the premium of the products like Dion was talking about. These are critical products that make our customers' products much better, to make sure that we capture that full value. So having those people focus on those things. So in this particular example here, we have 4 things. We have some key leaders that we needed to support, a supply chain organization that could really be optimized, and a couple of our sales organization being restructured to better align the needs of the customer, and then having our people be better prioritizing their engagements toward maximizing our profit and our value propositions. So those are the 4 parts of the human capital plan that we were working on. And on the next slide, it highlights the other 2 that are going to be focused on by our colleagues here. So I'm going to turn it over to Heidi Gerhardt, who's our Director of Talent Acquisition and University Relations, and she's going to walk us through her team's engagement and commitment toward this human capital plan, as well as the examples at hand for the Plastic Additives business. Heidi?
Thanks, Herminio. So I thought I'd start with providing some additional detail on the team design and the importance of this for delivering the right talent to BASF. So here you see our structure. Bernadette touched on this a bit earlier, where we segmented strategy and execution across all of HR. We've done that as well within talent acquisition. In 2017, we made a strategic investment in our executive recruitment function, which you'll see here in the second box to the left. We elevated the function with a dedicated team of executive recruiters, sourcers, and coordination support. And this was really done to ensure we had the scalable, agile workforce who, number 1, understood the specific organizational talent needs, 2, had the sourcing and candidate assessment capability with a view to consider the holistic talent. So not just looking for the same tried and true backgrounds, but considering those with different experiences, those who came from different industries, to really enable a change and innovation within BASF. And 3, looking for those individuals who had a proven track record of consulting and influencing the selection of high caliber talent. What was key here for us when we were building this team was the ability of the talent to connect our human capital strategies to the talent strategy and partner with our strategic human resources business advisors to deliver business impact. So building on this, let me share a bit more about our executive recruitment function and our operating principles. So really what's key for us is that we focus on fundamentally attracting high caliber, diverse talent for these critical decision-making roles. We influence the quality of our hiring decisions in partnering with our strategic HR business advisors, ensuring that exemplary advisory service to our business leaders. And we continuously elevate our standards of excellence, so monitoring our performance indicators and making sure that we are never satisfied with the status quo. What was key for our success, was really making sure that we had a strong alignment with our talent management team to ensure that we weren't only looking at external talent, but we were also considering high potential internal talent and making sure we were giving them those opportunities for development. And lastly, having the foundational elements of a robust sourcing and assessment methodology, taking a holistic view to that talent and leadership capability. This includes a Korn Ferry assessment tool that gives us that lens to leadership potential. So back to the two examples that Erminio touched on. Let me dig into these a bit deeper. So the first role that we had at our director level was a director of global product management for light stabilizers. This was a very tricky and complex situation. We had an incumbent in the role who was an expatriate, expected to return back to Germany, but timing on when this would occur was not clear. The role was a high impact role, typically one that was a last stop for somebody before being promoted to a VP position here at BASF. And what we couldn't risk was having this job vacant for any period of time, as we would lose momentum with our customers and key accounts. So in order to deliver, we needed to have this search be confidential and move through the process very nimbly. Our executive recruitment team developed a diverse slate of candidates, both externals and global internal talent, sourcing and partnering both with our colleagues across the globe as well as external agencies. We completed 2 rounds of panel interviews, and then once the incumbent's transition was announced, we posted the position to uncover any remaining internal talent. The result here was that we promoted a regional high potential talent into the role, which minimized the impact to the business, and we did this all in a very timely manner, ensuring there was sufficient transition time between the incumbent and the new hire, and there was no negative impact for our customers. So reflecting on this particular instance, I think this was a great success for us to put in the books, because it was a challenge to move away from our traditional or our past ways of working with complex processes and policies to more of a get it done, meet the business needs approach. So we delivered, and I think Dion will give you a thumbs up across the board here on how we were able to adjust, especially after still being fairly new in our new model, which we kicked off November of last year. If you look to the right of this slide, you'll see some of the keys that really set us up for success. You know, the ongoing communication across the teams, trusting that we all had the same best intentions. We were all working for the same goals. We were operating with a sense of efficiency and agility at the end of the day to deliver business value. The second example I'd like to share is for the Director of Supply Chain for Performance Chemicals North America. So this one was an interesting one. We had a really strong external talent that had come through our process for another opportunity. We interviewed her, we offered her a job, but it wasn't the right fit at the time. So we kept her warm. The executive recruitment team kept her engaged and really made sure that the next opportunity we shared was the right one for her. So once the Director of Supply Chain role opened, she was brought in to interview, and we were also still considering our internal talent pool. During this time, to add more complexity to the situation, the business unit leader at the time was promoted, and so we needed to pull together a panel without an executive to make a final decision. So we were leaning towards a traditional BASF decision, which tends to be an internal talent. But as Dion was onboarding into the business unit leader role, Erminio and my executive recruitment team partnered with Dion to ensure we made the best long-term decision for BASF. And that was our external talent in the role. The challenge here was a mindset shift. So as I touched on, we tend to, especially at these critical decision-making roles, we tend to go with the known talents, those that we are comfortable with. So this partnership with Erminio was really key to influence the selection decision and make sure we were bringing in new, innovative perspectives to up our game. One of the first things our director of supply chain needed to do when she came in was turn around her organization to improve our customer delivery reliability, which was 20% below expectations. So I'm going to hand it over to Megan as the best person to talk you through how that worked with support from our people consulting team.
Thanks so much, Heidi. So as we were engaged to support the director of supply chain with the supply chain transformation, we looked at a couple of different business areas that we thought were good opportunities to make potential improvements. So first of all, thinking about where can we enhance delivery reliability to strategic customers. As Heidi mentioned, 20% is quite an aggressive target, so the team wanted to make sure they were truly positioned for success. Second of all, how could we really optimize our transportation channels to make sure that we were best able to meet our customers' needs? And then third, how could we hone and perfect demand forecasting and product availability? So really taking a deep look at demand and supply planning and figuring out how best we could improve accuracy. So in support of that engagement, some of the solutions that we looked to implement were, first of all, establishing a governance structure that could really be key in driving ongoing process improvements, challenging the status quo, and to be honest, pushing the team a little bit out of their comfort zones and the way that they had historically been used to working. Secondly, we restructured the supply chain organization, making sure all the while that there was minimal disruption to the business. But as Heidi mentioned, making sure we really had the right people in the right roles, and where there were opportunities or where it was needed to make some adjustments to talent, we did so. And then lastly, making sure that we were positioning the employees to enhance their capabilities, both through things like experiential learning and also through some formal training, and really be able to embrace new ways of working that would position them to effectively achieve the bottom line results that the business was looking to realize. So if you had to take a step back and think about some of the different areas where this project delivered value, I would say, first of all, it would be standing up this project management office, which had not been in place before, to really make sure that we were stewarding the highest impact projects and monitoring those KPIs on a regular basis to make sure that the team was focusing its energy and its time and its efforts on the initiatives that were most critical to really moving the needle on the key metrics that the business was looking to adjust. I'd say also the continuous improvement team was launched because they wanted to make sure that we were really addressing the biggest pain points and challenges within the supply chain process that were standing in the way of delivery reliability and that were complicating the transportation of product. We also took a look at benchmarks to help guide the organization towards working against supply chain best-in-class traits. So this wasn't just a sense of how do we go from good to great, it was how do we go from great to excellence. So how do we really shoot for the stars in looking to redo the way that we operate as a supply chain team. And then the last element was really training and educating employees on incorporating some of these continuous improvement and Lean Six Sigma tools and techniques into the way that they solved problems and also into the way that they operated on a day-to-day basis. So as many of you know all too well, sustaining change takes time and it takes a dedicated effort. So there were 4 factors that you could say were critical in really driving successful change adoption and guiding the Plastic Additives Supply Chain team on their transformation journey. So the first one is having a compelling vision. And this was something that was communicated from top leadership and also reiterated frequently throughout the organization. And that vision really was to embrace a continuous improvement mindset, and that mindset would achieve bottom line results. And this was a big culture shift for the organization, so not something that had been done before. The second element was really having the right solution, and I think having the supply chain director with experience in other organizations was really committed to and believed strongly that this solution was absolutely the right solution for the organization. Because I know there were some people who really wondered, could this be possible? Can we really make some of the leaps that we want to make in terms of the metrics? So we flexed the org structure, we reallocated team members to really address the top priority challenges in the organization, and making sure that we reduced any distraction caused by lower priority issues and really focused them on those key areas. And the director also coached the team in using a Lean Six Sigma framework for all projects and making sure that they were using a data-driven gap analysis process to really dig into and identify the root causes of those challenges within the supply chain organization. So another key area was looking at clear impacts, which I think was extremely motivational to the team at all different levels in the organization. So increasing empowerment across the supply chain team by people having this new skill set in Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement, learning some of those good tools and techniques that they could really use to tackle some of these challenges in the organization, and really promoting some good cross-functional collaboration across different parts of the organization. And we also really allowed that PMO process to track and monitor performance against the key metrics, making sure that there was full transparency across the organization. And then last but not least, reinforced expectations. So ultimately, this supply chain transformation increased accountability and also rewards towards strategic goals and business results at all levels. So we also leveraged the BASF rewards program to really make sure that we were incentivizing the team towards those metrics and towards using the desired behavior and those Lean Six Sigma tools and techniques. So Bernadette, I will turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Megan. So let's put it all together now. We had a clear business challenge, and what that means for us is that we needed to place a business focus on the challenge. We were able to align the right talent strategy to bring in the right people and have the flexible on-demand support to deliver a really customized on-demand service that ultimately drove greater business value. In closing, I'd like to invite Dion to make some remarks on the impact our experience had on improving his business's bottom line. Dion, back over to you.
Thank you, Bernadette. Yes, really from my side, I really want to thank the HR team. It's been a great year or so for me in this role. Partnering with my HR partners in pulling together a talent strategy and bringing in very high performance individuals, people with real impact, and furthermore supporting them through the various HR teams with the development of really high performance organizations. And the teams are really transforming our business. And we see it across all aspects. The 3 critical things we look at. Obviously our growth as a business is back on track. Our customer experience and the way we measure it has improved actually beyond our targets. So we're probably up about 30% so far and continuing to improve. We've had improvements in our working capital through efficiencies in that same supply chain organization. So a number of great examples of how the business has benefited from having great people, being able to attract people, and also being able to support them through HR strategies in building these high-performance teams, high-performance organizations that are capable, energized, engaged in delivering the business strategy. And it's really going well. And my thanks again to the team. Obviously, we have more to do. The journey continues. The challenges are always there. But I very much look forward to continuing to engage with my HR team, and we'll continue to win in our markets. So thanks, everybody.
Dion, thanks so much, and thanks to Megan and Heidi and Herminio as well. Alec, I'll turn it back over to you to open it up for Q&A.
All right. Yeah, thank you all for that. At this point, we will proceed to some Q&A. So if you have a question for any of our speakers, please type the question in the Q&A icon on the right-hand side of your screen and click submit. Megan, we're going to go to one for you. It came in during your most recent portion here, and it comes from Monica. Monica's question was, at what frequency are you measuring KPIs, monthly or quarterly?
Wow, we were measuring them bi-weekly actually during the project. We had this PMO meeting that was standing on the calendar, so it really forced the group every 2 weeks to take a look at the metrics and figuring out how the organization was trending. I think Dion probably would be looking at metrics more on a quarterly basis perhaps, but especially as we got the change implemented in the organization and up and running, we were looking pretty frequently at those metrics.
All right. Actually, that's all the questions we have at the moment, so we'll give it a minute or so. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to submit it. But while we're doing that, while we're waiting, I want to take the time to thank everybody, Bernadette, everybody on the line today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us and presenting on this webinar. We really do appreciate you taking the time. I also want to thank the sponsors of this Spotlight webinar at Cornerstone On Demand. And thanks to everybody in the audience. So we'll give it another moment or so before we close things down. All right, so it looks like that's all the questions that are going to come in today. So again, thank you to all of our presenters today. Thank you to everybody in the audience, and thank you to Cornerstone On Demand for sponsoring this. And if you enjoyed today's presentation, please take the time to fill out our post-event survey, which is going to appear right after this webinar ends. Your feedback is always very important to us here at Workforce, and it does help us improve our future events. So thanks to everybody on the line. We'll see everybody back here for our next Workforce webinar titled Leaders Are People Too. That'll take place next Tuesday, September 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.